but and we're
Live
live.
now. Great. Hello, hello, Heber. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tomorrow Tonight. Um, Heber Rowan joins us. He's a public affairs consultant and a broadsheet columnist. Good evening, Heber.
Good evening, John. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. And Heber's got a great column on the site. Perhaps not the most pressing issue, but very interesting one nonetheless, about election monitors, and they're not allowed monitor, basically, are they not?
Yes. So this is a column from what day was it? Monday, Tuesday.
I think it
Have I
was
got
yesterday, wasn't it? No, Monday. Yeah, Monday
Monday?
afternoon.
Yeah, Monday. So I was, as political nerds do, they look at KildareStreet.ie, the website that has all the different Oireachtas debates, parliamentary questions, things like that put on it in a more user-friendly format than on the Oireachtas.ie website. And I found
Slightly,
that
yeah. Sorry, go on.
there were over 50 different questions asked about why Ireland was not sending international election observers to witness and validate other elections everywhere in the world. And Ireland, as part of the OSCE and other EU efforts, would send out monitors who are experts in various fields, and they're essentially volunteers to go help with such efforts. But because of COVID, all that was stopped, and the elections were still happening, but the monitoring in the same way was not going ahead. It was not deemed as essential travel for allowing people to go abroad. And the thing that struck me is either all the politicians who were asking about this repeatedly, again and again and again, were either very concerned about this on an international diplomacy aspect, on how this makes our reputation abroad look and what it says for democracy around the world, the rule of law, or they were being lobbied by the candidates on the panel who wanted to get on the list to
Right.
go out, and they weren't actually getting the opportunity to go out on long-term or short-term observer missions
Yeah.
to various parts of the world. And so sometimes a PQ is put in after someone emails going, hey, can you please look into this? And they put a PQ in to highlight the issue and raise it that bit further. But there are these questions still being asked now again in 2020, and a picture I put it up now is about 70. I didn't even count it, but it's just colossal on the exact same issue
Yeah.
that's just been answered the same way again and again. I refer you to the previous answer.
These would be constituents who would be in line for these roles. Is that right? Or
Well, basically, the Department of Foreign Affairs every 5 years puts out a call for applicants,
right?
and people are chosen to get on this panel to go out potentially over the course of a 5 year term wherever in the world. They're giving money for international vaccines because they could go literally anywhere in the world, things like that. But they are volunteers, and
Or are
the,
they right? They're not paid
yeah,
at all.
they are essentially volunteers. They're not. These are, say, it could be like a barrister who has expertise in
Yeah.
elections, or
Sure.
an IT expert who is very good at tabulation of results, Excel sheets,
Yeah.
or could be people with just general sort of
Have
research
you have
political
you applied?
experience.
Have you applied, Heber?
No, not myself, but it
Yeah.
has crossed my mind. I would certainly love to do it. Sometimes it's given to like former politicians do it as well, but people of different walks of life do it, and it is a crucial part of how the rule of law internationally and the democratic norms are upheld. So, um,
Are we the only
it,
country not sending physical observers? I mean,
well, seemingly other countries also stopped doing it, but it raises the whole question about what is essential work and what is not. And given that in other countries, due to their constitutions and so on and so forth, like in the United States, elections still went ahead, and uh, of course, the whole thing there was that, oh, it's a fraud, but the OSCE did send some monitors in a very minimal capacity to the United States to review the election there, and concluded that it was largely fair and peaceful and all that. But the importance of it is good because it also adds that extra element to domestic affairs as well as international, in terms of telling us that the transfer of power has been a fair and peaceful one that we can trust.
Yeah.
So so these things do matter.
And all these questions, but the answer is sort of wait and see. And
essentially, that the repeated answer from the Minister, Darren Murphy, was we value our volunteers going abroad, and we don't think that it's necessary at the moment due to the COVID restrictions, and the panel will open up again in due course. Said it repeatedly again and again and again.
Heber, the papers, Irish Examiner, return to sun holidays likely by August.
That is a while off. We are still in April, and I was only speaking to a friend this afternoon who reminded me of in December when I met him. He said, "This could go on till April, I tell you," and I didn't believe him. But unfortunately, you get proven right.
Yeah.
And wrong.
Certainly. Yeah, and wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's some conflict in terms of sort of July or August. I mean, I guess it's just sort of mid to late summer is the.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, of course, is the north of Ireland will be opening up, like the rest of the UK, outdoor dining and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
it doesn't make much sense to have two different systems on the island. And also, when, say, you look at a place like Kildare that has very low cases, and yet they're not adopting a regional lockdown approach, it's to say open them up first before other places, versus just the continuation of a general lockdown that just has no end in sight.
Oh, that's a lovely picture of Neva Malley, cool canine, perhaps. That's in Salt Hill. Fantastic weather. Expert urges new search for human remains. This is the Besbur planning application hearing today. Besbur is where there's about up to 900, maybe 1,000 bodies buried, remains of people and children and others who were at the mother and baby home at Besbur. Now, a private developer has sought planning permission to build houses on the land, and they still haven't established where this grave is, where the remains are. So today, Aidan Hart, who had been working with the disappeared in Northern Ireland, he came in and he urged a new search for human remains, because there's sites all over Ireland like this. It's extraordinary. Like Tuam, there's a few more Tuams.
Okay.
And no efforts have been made to really ascertain where these bodies are. But so a lot of research has been done in Besbur, and they identified a spot, and it's right adjacent to where this development is planned. It's been planned.
So there'll be an archaeological dig.
Yeah. I suppose it's I can't understand why there's not this sort of absolute outcry. You know, there's bones under there. It's dotted around Ireland. You know, if there was mass graves in Bosnia or whatever, you know, you'd want them exhumed, even identified where they are.
It's one thing a conflict of guns and bullets. It's another thing where society, by consensus, allows the system to continue by social pressures to uphold the norms of, oh, you have a child outside of wedlock, you're persona non grata to your community. We must send you off there, and your child may or may not live. And it really just has been something that has just been brushed under the carpet by our society as the years have gone on. The state certainly didn't help, but the state was also elected by the people who supported that system socially, and in terms of how the mores of society allowed it to continue.
Yeah, a lot really didn't know what was going on. The general populace really didn't have an idea. And many people did actually try and put a spanner in the works, but they were quickly identified and ousted. In
Mm.
terms of it's not a clear picture. Blame society, pockets of society. Yeah, the elite definitely.
Sort of Ireland is similar in ways to the Japanese proverb that the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered down. If we really have outside opinions like that, challenging the consensus of what um, a circumstance of life was, like
Yeah,
the homes for children, then you would be told, no, no,
you
you
can't
cannot
be
go
on the
against the Catholic
UN
Church.
cert.
You cannot go against this. This is just how it is. It is what it is, and that would be this.
Yeah, I was hoping for some kind of international. That you can't be on the UN Security Council when you've got bloody bones. Under it's, to use Ireland's or the Irish government's sort of insecurity over its international reputation. Use that. Use the fact.
Mm.
Weaponize that insecurity in a way, because something has to be done. I think something really has to be done. It's 6, 7 years since they found the bones in Tomb, and they're still in the underground.
Yeah, it's a damning indictment of
If it
the
was
entire
Bronze
system.
Age, if these were Bronze Age remains, they'd be up and collated. But anyway, sorry.
But the reality is, people need to knock on the doors of those in power more and say this is still an issue that makes them very, very angry. And the more that happens, the faster it'll get done. That's the brass tack.
Yeah, totally. I think certainly in terms of Besborough, most of the politicians are against the development. Carphone move deepens retail crisis. I suppose this was just inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the better part of 700 jobs
Yeah,
gone.
yeah,
Uh, about 500 redundancies, apparently. But now, due to the changing ways of the market and people going for SIM-free handsets,
yeah.
it means that their model of giving the extra choice, where you compare and contrast different phone companies, it's no longer a thing. And the branding and marketing budgets of the main companies, Vodafone, Tree,
That's online.
even Air, Tesco Mobile, they have more of a punch when it comes to interacting with the customers in the market than Carphone Warehouse, who were primarily a bricks and mortar
Yeah,
operation,
yeah.
with no significant ad campaign in the last number of years. Their
No,
market has just dried up.
and it was a bit like Extravision, I suppose. In terms of the the market, the kind of technology changed effectively.
Well, one thing I'd love to point out about Extravision in general is that actually there are some Extravisions still operational in the
Really.
world. Yes. Um, the John Oliver show famously highlighted this about how Extravision, full and proper, still operates in Alaska.
Good Lord.
Alaska, where the internet speeds are not great, and you often have to drive very, very far away to get any kind of entertainment. So people still use DVDs for their movies of the weekend, all that, and it
Wow.
still operates fully, properly, profit-making business, but only in a few places.
Yeah.
The thing about any sort of business changes or technological developments, for that matter, is that they never really fully die out completely. Just as they just adapt in terms of their usage. So, for example, we don't use stone tools anymore, but we can buy a handmade, as if it's from the Neolithic era, stone tool now. You could find it online, you could buy it somewhere. That
Mm.
technology is still there, but that market of those stone tools is just very, very small. So the same happens for anything else like Extravision,
Yeah.
or in this case, Carphone Warehouse. The market is changing, and people are looking at how they interact with their handsets, their phones in general. It's a different thing. And Harvey Norman put out a tweet advertising their jobs.
Oh, for these people, for these.
Yeah, for the workers. Not a bad way for them, I suppose, but it's
Yeah.
given everything at the moment, a very, very difficult blow for those families.
Yeah. Totally. Ryanair kind of timing. Vacation once again. fully vaccinated Irish people could be jetting off on holidays before the end of the year. This is the people with vax passports. By then, I assume the digital passport thing or the vax passport thing will be up and running.
Yes, though some EU countries have expressed concerns about it in general, and there's still debate about whether it would actually go ahead or not. I think it will, because it'll be like a halfway measure to get it going, and everything will be for the autumn market and then the winter. Like the day we'll have people going on a cruise around Norway and seeing the fjords will be the day we can really know sort of we're back and tourism is back in a way, even if the people there are all vaccinated beforehand.
Yeah, yeah, it's my position, like my position, but I mean, I suppose again, I keep on saying it, but majority of the broadsheet readers would support, from what I can read, the idea of a digital vax passport. I think it's the whole thing is pretty shocking, and it, for me, I mean, I sense like you accepting it, Heber, just like that, it really makes me kind of sad in a way,
Well, the issue, the central issue is that, as I've said before, if you want to travel to certain parts of the world, you need to be vaccinated to be able to go there, and that's been the case for donkey's years. Yellow fever, malaria, various different things you would need to be protected from. Just as back in the day when the Irish went to the United States, they had to be tested for tuberculosis because that was quite a thing back in the day. And the same goes for this, but
really it doesn't compare to TB at all, though. But I mean,
no, it's very, very different. But in the general sense of medical screening at borders, that has been a thing for some time, and I think this is just a new evolution of it. I mean, if you think, we have to think also in the context as well. What is a passport? What is a visa? In the very fundamental sense of it, they all really kicked off at the end of the First World War, thereabouts, when it became more of a thing to have state security and the contested version of what borders were after all the territorial disputes. So from there, passports in general became a thing, and visas and all the paperwork bureaucracy from that.
Yeah.
And all these kind of controls are a manifestation of state sovereignty, and how it determines itself in the eyes of the world.
Yeah.
While passports facilitate some things, in general, they do hinder us in our own personal freedoms, one could argue.
Yeah. Your local paper, the Sligo Weekender, Heber, I was looking for a
Mona
number for
McSherry.
Yes.
Mona McSherry there. She has qualified for the Olympics.
A local woman?
Yes, she is a very, very successful swimmer, not related to Mark McSherry or the famous political family of the McSherrys. I asked him, he said no.
Okay.
Yes, she has been on the pig's back. She has been just doing very, very well for herself, and she's broken national titles and has now gone into the big leagues, and we're very, very delighted for her.
Brilliant. Well, I hope the games go ahead. There's some doubt about it.
Yeah, there is a fair bit of consternation about it because the Japanese don't generally want it to go ahead, even though the plans are now in place for it to go ahead in a very, very small way, with just the athletes coming over, very few support crews, no tourists.
Right. Yeah.
That it would just be the games itself, and everything would be televised as appropriate. But hopefully it will go ahead. I mean, Japan. When I lived in Japan, they were an applicant for the Olympics, and for them it was such a dream come true to get them once again. And so for what it's worth, I hope it goes ahead. But it's pity. I would have loved to have gone back to Japan to see the Olympics there.
Oh yeah,
and everything. But
can't 62 was it the last time they had? was it 1962, the last Tokyo Olympics?
Yes, yes.
Footballer knocked out by vicious blows. Is he a local chap? Do you know him, Heber? Joe Curran?
Temple Boy, yeah, he's in in County Sligo.
Do you know him?
Not personally.
Okay, so he won't be taking revenge on his assailant. Poems and Stories of Mountain Man Andy. He's a local legend. Do you know him, Heber?
Not personally.
Okay. And that's a add county to pyrite scheme.
Yes, many houses throughout the entire country have been suffering from pyrite, which is essentially an outdated and dangerous building material that was put into houses that is being slowly taken away. A scheme was announced to do so 2 years ago, but many houses have to bear massive costs to try and remove it. And not everywhere has the funds to do it. So council houses in Sligo don't receive the funds from central government to remove it. So it's something that needs to be worked out. But the asbestos of its day, let's say.
Yeah. I was looking for an emergency barber on the cover there of the Sligo Weekender. We have to do something here. You could lose a comb in there, I think.
Well, I've been going to the same barber for most of my years when I be here, and
is he or she like is he?
Yeah, he's a local, and I think he needs the business, so I'll happily save my hair for the business for him.
You'd have to
the least I can do for man's honest day's work.
He's going to rust his scissors. It's going to be just like
it's the lockdown look. It's the lockdown look.
It is.
We'll be laughing about this in years,
well, I mean, no, exactly, but
fun anecdote personally though about that same barber actually. When I saw September 11th happening, it was actually in that barber. Okay. I was just after finishing school, and I went to get a haircut, and I saw it on TV and asked, "Hey, what movie is that?" Literally, I asked that, and he said, "No, lad, that's the news." And I went,
"Oh my God,
yeah." That's a bit of history.
Okay, so the Clare Echo, 69% want pedestrians plan for Ennis.
This has been a story which has caused a lot of debate in Clare. Basically, some are arguing that it's for the best, that it would help outdoor dining, it would help the overall experience of Ennis itself. But then others saying, no, there's a lot of young people congregating and they're drinking outside, and it's causing a lot of ruckus and social behavior, so on and so forth. I think probably that's just a bit unfair, considering there's no pubs, there's nothing else open for young people to do. I personally think pedestrianization is absolutely the best thing for most places and should happen more. Most European cities, they have their old centre that's completely pedestrianised.
Yep.
Cars, you have to go around it.
Yeah.
You have deliveries come in for certain hours of the day, but then that's it. Pedestrianisation means that people use a town or city as a place to live, work, do business.
Yeah, particularly kind of these, particularly in Dublin, medieval kind of city, Viking, it's tiny little roads, and it's, but I see the cars are back. Commuters were back this morning in big numbers. Like we got some photos in, and seemed bumper to bumper in Dublin anyway.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
First time I've seen that for, I think, almost a year.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got the mail in, the Daily Mail.
Okay, fair enough.
Just horribly multitasking here. You chat there, yeah. So your barber then, will he not come and visit? No.
No. Though I have heard of someone else having a
Sneakily.
clandestine service coming around to the house. The wink and the nod solution out in the country.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hedge haircuts,
And haircuts, yeah.
You go out into the fields and there's a
The
bloke.
mini lawnmowers, the mini lawnmowers. I wonder how that farmer is getting on. He uses sheep shears, his old-fashioned hand ones for his own head of hair.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the dog groomers stuff would be ideal for yours and mine actually when it gets a bit.
Well, you can get your dog groomed at the moment, but not your own hair.
Yeah,
I believe that is how it works, and that was one of
yeah,
the criticisms put out about the non-essential retail debate about the children's shoes over 2-3 weeks ago.
yeah.
That you couldn't buy children's shoes when you at the same time could get your dog's toenails cut.
Or getting little boots, if you're
Yeah.
that way inclined, it's keep them dry in the wet. But yeah, I'm not a masker, but if I was a masker, I think this would be, we're in 13 months of unable to go to mass. It would be horrific.
Well, the big thing is the legislation that
Yeah,
created all this will expire in June. There was sunset clause was put on it, and that's what everyone was completely agreed on, that any law that was heavily restrictive would have to have a set date put in law to end it. Um,
yeah.
and I think the way it is, it won't be renewed because with the Johnson and Johnson vaccines coming through, the speed up of the overall program, it can't really be justified for things like shutting down mass and other freedom of assembly. It will have to change, and the aspect of certain things being curtailed, that may still happen, but I don't think the legislation will continue in its current form after June. The way it's going.
Well,
Of course, there is other legislation we could compare to, such as the Special Criminal Court, which is renewed, I believe, every year.
yeah,
That allows for a non-jury
I know.
trial
Yeah.
of super bad criminals to avoid organized crime issues. That has to be renewed by the Oireachtas every year to allow it to
Well,
exist.
these restrictions, you see, Oren Doyle, this law professor from Trinity, just found out that worships could have gone ahead for the last 12 months. There was a loop. They didn't establish, um, masses in the legislation, in the emergency legislation, and there was churches could have opened. I'm sure they would have closed the loophole as soon as they did that, but which they did then after Oren Doyle had written about it, like about 3 days later, only a week and a half ago, they changed to include churches and.
Interesting.
But if you've got people down in Portobello Harbour, say having chats in the evening, and you can't go to mass, and you're walking by this scene, it's weird. It must seem very kind of like it's some the antichrist is behind it. Why can't they sit in a pew, socially distant, hearing a priest give a sermon? Doesn't like
Yeah,
or even allowed just to pray. Open the doors if you want to walk in.
Outdoor mass.
No, I mean open the church. Leave the churches open all day so that people can wander in and out and come in. And
Yeah, as did happen for a while.
and the sacrament of confession. I mean, it's there's a ritual involved in that, and I don't know how are they doing those virtually. I don't know, virtual confessions.
I've no idea. I've no idea. But I do see it going back back to normality soon enough. The one thought that really strikes is the whole thing that, well, we've all gone through our own journeys one way or the other, from easy and hard lessons learned, and how we cope with things in our own spirituality is our own process of how we ease our pain internally, how we learn to deal and reconcile the forces beyond our control. And while it can help some people to do it inside a church, fundamentally, um, knowing how to pray on your own and find your own peace is the most important.
Yeah. And the pressing issues, the genes crisis facing women at the moment, the gauchos. Are you a fan of the gauchos, Heber? There's a lot of down.
I prefer straight cut myself. How about you?
I think the gauchos are a huge mistake, both men and female. I don't think they work. Um, I've written to the Irish Times, but of course they don't. They ignore the big issues. So the slow return to freedom. Meghan, Harry, and the sensation.
It's like a very crappy movie title, isn't it? Slow return to freedom.
Oh, the slow return to freedom. I thought it was when Meghan, Harry, and whatever. The long walk to freedom. But holidays here and abroad are ruled out for now. So even inter-county visits, Anyway. Daily Telegraph. MI5 joined social media, a new era of openness.
Oh, hold on.
The spy who came out on the Twitter or whatever.
Yes. There was the famous one of Edward Snowden being followed on Twitter by the CIA, the CIA's Twitter account. Yes, we are watching you, or something like that. It said. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of these famous tweets of back in the day.
So MI5 joined social media, new era of openness. Yeah. Right.
Well, funny enough, actually, they were recruiting for jobs recently. MI5 were, and MI6. They were looking for experts from all nationalities and fields to sign up and help them in their efforts.
Yeah. I was thinking the name's Bond, at James Bond. Okay.
At mi6.co.uk.
Neglect of Commonwealth victims of war fueled by racism, says report. Neil Richmond, the Fine Gael.
Yes, I immediately thought of him when you said that. The way I see it, though, Neil Richmond will become potentially a leadership candidate for Fine Gael in 5 years' time.
Right.
I really believe that. I think he's been holding his own. He's been very measured in what he comments on, and he has been playing a very tight game. And I think he will be on course to be a leadership contender, if not a minister, in 5 years or so.
Is he the intellectual wing of Fine Gael?
Well, he himself says that he is from D4 squared, like Dublin 16, the
right
south side type thing.
But is he a big thinker? I mean, does he want to bring Fine Gael back to the kind of the Cara Fitzgerald days, or?
Well,
or is he more?
He is regarded as a West Brit, i.e., someone who wants to return to the rules of Britannia.
Right, but a Bruton.
Yeah,
he's got the big Fine Gael head in him anyway. So
if that is the thing, I'd say.
I think it's a requirement for that.
He's mighty proud. He's mighty proud of his affiliation, and he is one of the two politicians on TikTok.
Oh, right.
Oh, well, Simon Harris is, and Neil Richmond is. Neil Richmond was the first to describe the day in the life of a member of the Oireachtas and so on and so forth. And Simon Harris then followed. And I think that was fantastic.
I think TikTok. They should get off TikTok. I mean, TikTok really is like teenagers, isn't it?
Not necessarily. I mean, the thing is that the app is very, very immersive, and it's got many different interests of all descriptions, and it's very, very addictive. Believe me, I know. And the thing is that it's very new.
Do you use it more than Twitter, for instance?
No, I mean, well, Twitter has its vibrancy and its simplicity that really does grab your attention, but TikTok is all about the the videos, and it can be very, very intense from one to the other. And you can find some genuinely interesting stories from all across the world. Today I was looking at a man who lives and works in the South Pole, then followed on by a guy describing his life, 21 years out of prison, all the different recollections that he had coming back to life, normal. Some very, very interesting things you can find, and funny stuff as well from all different sort of stuff. It's not all just silly pranks and that. TikTok is a fantastic app that is really a serious competitor on the social media game.
Yeah. What happened Vine? Do people still send Vine?
No, Vine is finished as of what, 4 years ago or so. And the market for that is now TikTok.
Okay.
They're short form videos. A lot of the tools and experiences they used from that to the benefit of creating TikTok. The controversy, though, is that its company ByteDance is a Chinese company, and its popularity in the United States caused a big degree of suspicion in the US political circuit, saying that it was a tool of China and so on and so forth. But the thing is that it just kind of made people more aware of how much various social media apps track you, and how third-party apps and cookies work in context with one another. And having a popular Chinese-based app move forward made people sort of think, but the thing is, it's essentially the same policies as you would have with Facebook and so on and so forth. It's just that now the West is getting used to a more diverse digital platform that's not just made and designed in California.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose they'll start censoring stuff, won't they? I mean, that's how it works, isn't
it? Censoring social media companies.
Well, I mean, TikTok, I mean, if it gets kind of a critical mass, they'll start censoring, say, Neil Richmond if he's critical of China, or
I wouldn't say that necessarily.
Wouldn't you? I mean, they do have a record in that regard. I mean,
yeah. I'm not fully aware of such kind of thing. There is a lot of discussion on the app about how hate speech and other policies are used and abused at times by people who want to do other people over, so to speak. It's figuring itself out as it develops, and it has now a massive operation in Ireland, by the way. They've been recruiting like no tomorrow.
TikTok, yeah.
Yes.
Right. Interesting times. Heber, are you a football fan?
Well, I've been following the story of the new league with a bit of mirth. I'm not surprised that they wanted to create a new league for the sake of extra money and prestige. But it just is really remarkable how fast the whole thing has spiraled and exploded. The billions at stake for it all, really.
It's amazing.
Yes, it has been absolutely amazing. It makes one seriously think about the money involved in sports. Like Seb Blatter from the World Olympic Council, the FIFA scandal of tickets, and how what's his name, Shane
Pat Hickey.
Pat Hickey, yes, how Pat Hickey fell from grace due to it all. The money involved in sports like this beggars belief when you really put it in context. And I don't think people are desperate enough to get back to the game. Like, they've been dying really to get back and enjoy watching a game in person, live, to experience it and love it and live it. But they want to go back to what they've missed, not something new.
It's a fantastic demonstration of people power, though, isn't it, Heber?
I think so, yes. And the widespread condemnation of it was just very, very fast how it all fell apart.
But you can see why they want. I mean, you can see why authorities want to divide and rule, really, because look at what happens when there's unanimity. When the people sort of agree it's within 3 days. JP Morgan, all this, masters of the universe, they wilted under the pressure, didn't they?
Yeah, and don't forget, like a league would depend on its ticket sales, its ad revenue, the people actually watching it. If the ordinary man doesn't or woman doesn't want to engage with it, or says, "Oh, my club, no, you are not going in that. We will not pay our membership fees, our supporter fees, whatever it is." They will
Yeah.
take action. They will take notice, and they will pay attention.
The Spectator, Biden's rodeo.
Rodeo. I mean, there was one like point that was made. He took a very, very long time for his first press conference, and when he did have his first press conference, he was
Scripted.
Yeah, he was using a lot of notes, and he wasn't in a commanding sort of style that didn't really look good. One could sort of say like, "Oh, well, sure, maybe he was just nervous," but then again, he's been in the American political system for the better part of 4 decades.
I think he's in a very bad way. He's falling, he's mumbling, but he's been like that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I mean, even during the debates, which they, I mean, anyway, yeah, let's not go there. Spectator, and then we have the Morning Star, PM's text fuel sleaze scandal. Are you following any of the?
Yeah, so James Dyson, the creator of Dyson vacuums and so on and so forth, he moved massive amounts of jobs to Malaysia years ago,
Yep.
and now it seems like Mr. Moneybags will be able to move back to the UK, and all the money and taxes for him and the rest will be figured out. And the text there were signs that he was lobbying Boris Johnson, and he said there, "Oh, Rishikesh, the UK finance minister, has made it okay for him. That something will be figured out." So this is a bit of a scandal. It says that, well, the rich serve the rich, and they have a very tight circle with those in power.
Yeah, and Dyson was a kind of a Remainer, wasn't he? And so it's politically embarrassing for him, isn't it? I mean, he was propping up these guys.
Absolutely, and well, he plays to what advantage he can, and the
the thing is, he can't brush it under the carpet because he uses these transparent Ubers. Don't mind me.
Fantastic, John. Excellent.
It's late.
Yes. See the Financial Times there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Draghi. Yeah.
Draghi plots 221 billion rebuilding Italy's recession-ravaged economy. That's a lot of money, or a lot of printing of euros from thin air.
Well, he'd certainly know Draghi, wasn't he? Like he was involved in our bailout.
Yes, Draghi was the European Central Bank chairman, who famously said, "We will save the euro at all costs," i.e. they printed trillions and trillions of extra euros in a process of quantitative easing, thereby diluting the purchasing power parity of the euro itself, meaning that if you owned a lot of money under the carpet, you're going to just lose out. But at the same time, it was the helicopter money approach of just trying to kickstart the European economy to save the euro from falling apart with Greece and everything back in the day. But now debt continues, and the thing is, having more debt, just move on, is actually easier when you can just print more money, and the debt obligations become easier because you have made more money to pay off the older money. And it's also easier because now interest rates on the international markets are relatively low still. And so it's actually quite profitable just to keep more debt going, and you don't need to really worry about it being so expensive because the cost of repaying that debt is now so much lower. Even Ireland famously had a negative interest rates applied on its bonds.
Yeah, leprechaun economics. fearlessly covering the big debates of our age. They are, to be fair, the UK Star. Joy is UK is hit by marmite shortage. That's quite clever, isn't it? Horror, it's like the two. Anyway, you're not impressed, Heber, no?
I'm more of a Vegemite man myself.
Okay.
Then again, in London, there's a shop that sells nothing but Australian food and Australian products. They have a whole aisle to that.
To Vegemite.
Yes.
The difference is between it's not yeast, is it? Vegemite.
Something like that. I don't actually even have to have it myself, but it's I find it too strong. It's an acquired taste.
And you probably won't know about the landline, but the landline is ending. This is a method whereby the phone you would be connected to an exchange. Sorry.
What? What is that? Oh my God! Pray tell. What strange magical mystery are you talking?
Oh, you'd have to use your finger. I don't want to get too detailed.
With a pigeon? What is it?
There'd be then an operator in the outskirts of the city then would answer your call and patch you through. Anyway,
you're speaking double Dutch to me.
When we meet, I'll tell you all about that. Okay, have you?
But yeah, I think in landlines in general, they've been moving towards VoIP services. So when you now install a landline, you have an internet router in your house, and you use that to get your landline covered, and a number would be assigned to it. And having a landline without a router is now becoming rather seldom, because you would need to have the internet router for that to happen, because everything is done via digital services for the most part. And given how most homes are all moving towards digital anyways, it is a bit of a thing. But when we look at elderly homes, when it actually is quite a good thing to have a landline, when you want the stability of a point of contact.
Yeah.
Say a person might have dementia and might think, okay, to charge the phone every day and keep that regularity, to have the simplicity of a phone that's always on, always there, is a good thing.
Yeah.
And
regular people too.
Yeah, it does absolutely have its uses.
Yeah. Well, yeah, God bless the landline. Heber, have you a busy week ahead in Sligo?
Honestly, no.
No, quiet.
It's quiet.
Have you a dog or anything to go for walks with, or?
No, I've no dog.
Oh, you must get a dog. You must get a pet. No, were you tempted during the lockdown? No.
No, because I know how much they are. You've got to be responsible for only those things you're capable of taking responsibility of, and a dog, a cat, they're another life. You have to take them seriously.
Yeah.
And
you've got to groom them, Heber.
You got to groom them. They're a lot of work, and they're a lot of money too.
Well,
as any dog owner will tell you. But
the rewards.
One day, maybe.
It's your ambition, Heber. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, John. Good night.
Heber's column is on the site as well, and I'll pump it up to the homepage tomorrow.
Cool.
Okay. And the ginger thing. We have to talk about that.